Hey guys, welcome back to Globe Trekker Gaming. Today we'll be moving on to part 8 of our gameplay of Suzerain. Let's get going. So for those who watched the last two parts, during like the presidential, I think it was like the inaugural ball or something, there was a shooting outside, and then they had, in the last part, they had a whole conference about, what happened and who did it and everything, and it had this whole dramatic thing saying a few days later, but then just cut to this. So I feel like it's going to set up some sort of suspenseful thing, and yeah, let's just get right to it. So if we go here, let's just see what they have for the news. We can see Sworddish politician shot dead, because I think it was like, it was an MP that was kind of like an independent communist. I believe he was a communist, was shot there, and they're like, oh, was it this? Was it this? And they think it might have been, the nationalists shooting a communist. But then now, like, the communists are plotting revenge or something like that. So, that's all the things we're going to have here. I don't really see too much more. From what I remember going through all these different things around here, those just gave, like, different things showing how dire the situation is in the country, which, it's kind of like, I get the message. Things are not good, and that's what our job is to really fix it. So let's just go right here and go right to some of this stuff here. So I'm going to first go to read the report. So the chief of police reports that two Bluetish women with affiliations have been caught in Hallsword before they could execute a terror attack. So yeah, this just keeps showing that more and more things keep going downhill. So their intentions were to attack the National Front Party's rally when Casaro Kibner gave his speech, but rejected. Okay, yeah, it just seems like a whole, another thing about, oh, things are bad. We get the message. All right, let's just go first. We could either do the dinner or the security briefing. I'm going to go the security briefing first. That seems more important. So, for those who watched the previous parts, it really kind of plays out almost like a novel, but I really like it because it's got kind of an interesting story with it, and I'm actually like really intrigued to see how the story develops, but I know it's also kind of a choose-your-own adventure, so you make all the decisions with it. So I arrived to the front, in front of the doors leading to the Situation Room. Today's security briefing was arranged in two parts. The Minister of Interior, Lilius Graf, I'm feeling a little better about Lilius, but she's always been kind of the unnecessary devil's advocate, especially in the first meeting I had with her, but we'll still see. I'm not making decisions right now. And the Minister of Justice and Law, Nia Morgan, would like to join us for the first part. The second part with the Minister of Defense. And the Chief of the Armed Forces, Valken Kruger. Something I remember them saying is that there's a lot of corruption in the armed forces, and like the generals could potentially stage a coup or something, so you gotta kind of be careful of who you associate with. So I open the door, Lucian, Nia, and Lilius rose up. Sir, let's begin. Please take your seats. I'm gonna say please take your seats. Everyone in the room sat down except for Lucian. Mr. President and ladies, we'll kick off today's meeting with the internal security briefing. I'm assuming everyone has already been over the agenda. We have busy schedules, so without further ado, I'll jump to our first topic. This Lucian guy, I remember from the first encounter, he's just very strict to business. Like, here's how it is. As we feared, the political atmosphere has worsened. The reports around the country indicate that tensions are rising, as we feared. Kind of more the things of, it's a, bad situation. Who's going to unite us? Oh, look, it's you. What's the status on the Bernard Circus investigation? We received news this morning that the investigation into the murder has concluded. Great news, I'm eager. Please enlighten us, the more we know. Yeah, I'm gonna say that, because great news sounds like you're saying great news about a murder. After further investigation, we have confirmed the motive and also the events. Okay, get to the point. A few days prior, members of the Red Youth initiated a violent attack on a Young Swords local leader in Jen. I'm assuming that's a city. Yeah, in the greater Wholesword region. We believe the Young Swords then called for revenge, leading to the death of Mr. Circus. Since he often spoke against the Young Swords and nationalist sentiments in the Assembly, he was a big target, not to mention his radical communist views. Political violence needs to stop. He had it coming in radical. Sordland just lost a great writer for what? The Red Youth are clearly to blame. I'm going to say political violence needs to stop. That's a good message of unity. Yes, we've kept it at bay for so long, but it seems that there are now new triggers. Lilius handed over the report and pointed at a highlighted section. The investigation revealed a very troubling fact. The funding sources of the Red Youth have a clear link to United Cortana, or Contana. Yeah, I remember there's like Arcasia is like basically like the US in the Cold War. The United Contana is like the Soviet Union in the Cold War, from what I remember. What does this mean? Are you sure? This is proof that they're meddling in our affairs. I'm gonna say, I mean, I kinda know what it means, but I'm gonna say that anyway. That the communist superpowers meddling in our affairs. Several Red Youth members with ties to United Cantana have been detained, and the information extracted from them points to a preparation for communist uprising. It isn't unusual for the superpowers to influence other nations, but I think this case is a little far-fetched. The left lacks popular support in Sordland. Nia eagerly lifted her hand. I went over the report. It would be wrong to jump to conclusions about a clear foreign investment yet. United Cantana has humanitarian and cultural ties with many countries. I trust Miss Graff's judgment. I don't want to jump to conclusions immediately. We shouldn't create a crisis. I'm going to say that there. Nearly 3 decades ago, they funded General Ricard and tried to establish a communist dictatorship. If it was not for Colonel Sol, we would have seen the real crisis. Okay. Carl Greiser has linked the funding channel to the United Cantana consulate in Benfi. Is that another country, I'm assuming? Oh, it's a city in there. I'm still trying to learn all the different countries, because we haven't gotten much to the different countries there. I'm just kind of hearing about some of the different cities around. As we know, the enemies of Sordland are many, but we also have threats inside the country. We need to remain vigilant. As the government, we've all the power to deal with any threat. Our country always had issues. This is part of our job. I want to say that. That seems like a good, like, we're not going to back down here. If we give up essential freedoms to purchase temporary security, we deserve needed... Okay, that's a copy from the... I think it was, I want to say Benjamin Franklin said that. This is debatable, but yes, we know what more security and surveillance costs to this country and President Sol. Let's not forget that President Sol brought stability after a long period of bloodshed and chaos. Our highest internal threat comes from the estimated 20,000-strong Blutish Freedom Front, led by the imprisoned Dulan Arge. Who's this here? They're based in the Blutish regions of Sordland, and I'm still convinced who even the Blutish people are. I don't really know. Make a lot of noise with little substance. Are they supposed to be... are they supported by our Blutish citizens? Are they cooperating with any Blutish political organizations? I'm a little confused on who the, like, Blutish people are here. Does it say here? Sordland and Wayland. Oh, that's a republic nearby. Okay, so it seems like it's kind of like an outside country that's getting a lot of influence. Are they supported by our Blutish citizens? Yeah, let's ask that there. To some extent, luckily they couldn't attract a wide audience of Bloods, but they could potentially attract thousands of anti-Blutish sediment spreads in Sordland. Our intelligence intercepted 2 crates filled with weapons close to the Rumberg border. They were filled with military-grade... That's okay, that's supposed to be AK-47s. They're KA-74s. That's creative. We expect that more have been smuggled in. A group of Bloods were caught with these guns at a checkpoint. The governor of Bergia, Felix Braun, has already taken the necessary measures to counter. Rumberg has been acting aggressively in the region for a long time. Is that the one that's like the like monarchy that's north that's kind of an enemy? Yeah, I think I remember, because when I was looking around the map in like part 2, there was like one country that's like one of the major countries, but it's also like they're a monarchy but also not on good terms. I'm not surprised they would attempt to weaponize the Blutish people. This is worrying, very worrying. Can we make any direct correlations? I was expected Rumberg would undermine us, but this is too far. We need to keep level-headed with Rumberg. They are looking for reasons to take action. We can't let anyone meddle with our internal affairs. I'm going to say we keep that. I don't want to be, like, too passive, but I also don't want to jump to, you know, war and everything. Because I feel like that's kind of what the game's trying to test you at, is just to, like, see if you're like, oh, they did this, war, and then, you know, it causes more problems. They will play dirty while we play nice. It's a battle we will lose. This is grave news. We must be careful not to stoke the fires of anti-Blutish sentiment. Unfortunately, Governor Braun is directly causing the tensions to increase with his increasingly anti-Blutish stance. I must remind you, Governor Braun is directly responsible for the arrest of Dulan Arge, the previous leader. It's true that his methods can be extreme, but it was his policies that kept the region peaceful. He's misusing the powers given to him by Tarkin Sol. It'd be very difficult to revoke the special status of Bergia under the current circumstances. Is that the one where... a landlocked region of Sordland. I think I'm still kind of confused about who's what and what's what. The presidents no longer have the authority. For now, yes, but with enough justification, it would be possible. We'll be discussing this at a later time. Tell me more about the special zone. I'm kind of confused about that. Berja was given a special status by Tarkin Solo after the uprising by the BFF against the Sordish government. Those couple years were disastrous for Berja. Dulan, Arg, and the BFF declared war on us, openly attacked our people, and occupied entire cities. It was a massive uprising, but I'd like to point that the longest time they were in control of the city was 2 weeks. I wouldn't call that an occupation. Despite the arrest of Dulan Arg and the BFF seizing the activities, the special status of the region were never revoked. Today, the special zone gives the governor insane amounts of authority. He was in trouble with the law for not following the central government's authority. And Berja also has its own police forces, directly commanded by Governor Braun. I feel like with this, I don't like the whole uprising thing, but I also feel like this Governor Braun guy has too much power, and I almost want to see if we can try to take that away. They are not part of my ministry, and only cooperate when they are forced to do so. Even though our forces have the authority to serve in Berja, the special zone leaves the security mostly in the hands of the governor. The discrimination Berja suffers is maddening. We should find a way to revoke the special status. I'd rather not disturb the status quo. We must reverse the situation. It is absurd the Ministry of the Interior doesn't have full control. Governor Braun has special powers to deserve credit. I'm going to say that one. Because I think it really needs to go under kind of a national unity thing. I agree, but I have some ideas about it already, but we can talk about that at a later time. Nia gestures. What's the second most important threat? It's the gang violence that is threatening the Nargis and Angland regions. Two prominent organized crime families are at war, and the potential for bloodshed is real. Which two crime families? It's gonna be some, like, generic name. The Coronali and the Skinner Cartel. They used to be allies until a recent disagreement. Both are active in the cities of Narbel and Astord. They're playing with fire. I want them gone for good. Lilius, I trust you can handle them. Yep, might as well. I'm doing my best, sir. She sighed deeply. I shall be honest with you. With our current capabilities, we may not be able to prevent the further arming of separatists while maintaining order in Berja, Nargis, and Angland. If the law enforcement budget is increased, I can't be fully responsible for what happens. Our police units are spread thin as is. I'm going to say that, because I think we should increase the law enforcement budget, because it seems like just a lot of threats going around, and that seems like it is the better option here. We will rid our country from separatists and violent thugs if you do so. I wish you would stop using the word thugs, Lilius. The real problem is corruption. A higher budget could help us end that. Corruption is the root of evil, after all. Your ministry must tackle issues with persistence, Miss Morgna. The threats seem more direct than a few bribes. I'm confused what we're asking for. So which, are we asking for police budget or what? Valid points, let's say that. We can look into corruption once the weapons have been found and the gangs have been beaten. Just like the previous administration, kicking the can down the road. This is what's destroying our institutions. I didn't think I'd be siding with Lilius over Nia, but I think Lilius is having better points with it. Lilius and Nia were openly scowling at each other. Well, this concludes the topics for the internal portion. Thank you for the updates. Thank you for the overview. Have a good day. The two ministers left the room and took a short break. Upon invitation, Joseph Lancia, along with 3 high-ranking officials from the Ministry of Defense, walked into the room, and one was General Kruger, the chief. Joseph made his way towards the table. Mr. President? Joseph, welcome. I brought General Kruger with me due to the escalation on our borders. General Kruger stepped forward and saluted. He has a strong jaw with sharp cheekbones. Like, this reads out like a novel. I feel like I say that every time, but just like, I feel like I'm reading a book except making the, decisions. He was in his 70s, yet he had a bulky body. I'm gonna say salute him, because he's military. He smiled at the gesture and bowed his head in respect. Joseph tapped his foot impatiently. Gentlemen, thanks for coming to this significant gathering. Like, he has to point out it's significant there. Joseph and Valken took their seats while the rest of the officers stood. Mr. President, the situation at the western and northern borders towards Rumburg is very tense. Is Rumburg where they were... I'm trying to remember where Rumburg was. Oh, Sordland's over here, so I'm a little confused. I trust the capabilities of our armed forces to handle any threats. This concerns me very much. What's your current strategy? Seems like let's just stick to business. Patrolling close to the borders with our border force and keeping Army Reserve divisions near. It seems like they want to increase the pressure both externally and internally. Mr. President, if I may. Please go on. The picture is becoming clear. The latest information from the interior about weapons caches and I always forget how to say that word. And now there's an active military buildup close to our borders. The entire situation was analyzed by our general staff, and our prediction is future territorial incursion. I have complete trust. The threat is exaggerated. Let them come. We will give them hell. I'm gonna say that. We will not let you down. The general staff is composed of the smartest military individuals. I require an increase in the military budget to enlist more soldiers. Only then we can stand strong against our enemies. Valken is right. We do need an increase in the military budget, although we don't see eye to eye on exactly how to spend the budget. I have concerns. We need strong allies to withstand such a superior power. They are our nemesis. That is an understatement. Times are changing and war is coming, whether you like it or not. During the election, you said nothing about focusing on our military. I ask you to reconsider and increase the military budget. Maybe you're right. Yeah, because I feel like law enforcement and military are like two areas we really need to focus on. I feel like it's going to kind of spill into some sort of like government corruption thing, just the way this game is going. But I feel like that, and then I want to get really focused on those two things, but also really try to focus on internal things like education and infrastructure and everything if it gives me the opportunity. I knew you would understand. Our forces would crumble under a decrease, and Rumburg would be much more compelled to exploit our weakness. Our country hasn't fallen to an invading force for 200 years. You cannot let it happen. We should find regional allies like Valgsland or Lesbia to deter Rumburg. Rumburg wouldn't attack any nation allied with a superpower. Sordland must stand on its own 2 feet. These options should be considered. I'm gonna say these options should be considered. They could be considered, but why pander to others? We can solve this ourselves. We have no true friends outside these borders. Something's gonna happen here with a soldier entered the room and let Joseph Lancia know that a call come through. Excuse me. He's gonna like come back and be like, oh, they just invaded. A few minutes later, he entered the room again. His expression had changed. There's been a Rumburgian military activity close to the Narbel border. I just spoke with the local commander. Valken, we should go to the ministry and get further updates. Understood, raising military readiness is the first call of action. If there's truly an extraordinary attempt, we will relay to you immediately. Make sure they know we are observant and ready. Go and show them the might of the Swordlish Armed Forces. Your service is appreciated, or remain calm. Make sure not to escalate things further. Nobody wants a war. I'm gonna say that there. We will exercise utmost caution. Hail Sordland. Hail. They saluted and left the room. So Rumburg is already testing us. The reports from the interior indicate interference inside our borders. Communists, nationalists, Blutish rebels, Rumburg expansionism, what's next? Sordland had always been a key piece in the chessboard of the global rivalry between Arcasia and United Cantana, but in the recent years there was no such aggression from Rumburg, not at these levels at least. All it takes is one tiny spark to start the flames of war. The phone rang. Rumburg had decided to close their consulate in Lockhaven. Uh-oh, things about to go bad. So, diplomatic pressure and nationwide revolt. Alright, well... yeah, hey, things are getting quite a bit more intense there, so, yeah, I guess stay tuned. We'll have to see how things develop, but thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for, I believe it's Part 9 coming up. Take care.